So during this call, you know why we're here today, of course, because of this incident, correct?
Correct.
You have since learned the identities of the officers involved.
Correct.
On May 25th of 2020, did you personally know any of those officers?
No.
And during this time of this call, did you have some opportunities to look at the street video from this location?
I did.
And can you describe for the jurors how you came to see that?
While working at my position, we have two cameras or two TVs on our walls, one on both sides of the walls, so either side of the room can see. While I was dispatching calls, because this call was not the only call that I had to dispatch to officers in different precincts, I noticed that the cameras were up at 38th in Chicago and that we were able to see what was going on.
And did you recognize what was depicted in the video?
To the best of my knowledge,
And was Cup Foods in the video?
yes,
And did you recognize that as Cup Foods?
yes,
Was that consistent with what you knew to be 38th in Chicago?
yes,
And so did you also, when you observed that, see some police officers?
yes.
And can you just describe when you first looked up there in general, kind of what you saw?
When I just saw the squad car. I didn't see the police officers.
And did you watch this video feed for a period of time?
I went in and out of the camera and being able to pay attention to it. I did not watch the whole video. Or as it was happening, I did not watch the whole time.
And why not?
I still had calls to take care of and things to give out to the police officers.
So we've marked a copy of that video. Did you have a chance to view that before coming into court today?
Yes,
And you understand that we cropped it in the sense of on one side of the video there's a huge sign that kind of obscures that whole area. But the rest of the video does it fairly and accurately depict what you were able to see.
correct.
So, Your Honor, we would offer what's been marked as Exhibit 11.
Any objection? Your Honor. Yeah.
All right, another sidebar, this time having to do with Exhibit 11, and that is video that we haven't seen yet. This is a video of basically cameras within the city of Minneapolis. The dispatcher who is on the stand, Jenna Scurry, was able to see, but she said she didn't watch it throughout, but she noticed it. She was working her other calls, and they want to now bring this into evidence. We do know that there'll be another dispatcher that comes in to testify that says she did watch it and watched it and was so concerned that she actually called a member of law enforcement to talk about it. Chanley Painter with us watching this. Clearly, there's some issue here with the defense not wanting possibly the video to come in. Maybe it's just a technicality. They don't want audios. Well, let's listen in.
And 11 is received.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start showing Exhibit 11, and I'm going to let it run for about 15 seconds, and then I'm going to pause it, okay? All right, so if you could do that, please. All right, so I'm going to ask to pause it right here. Now, as I said, other than cutting out the big sign on the right side, does this fairly depict what you were able to see when you looked up at the screens and on May 25th of 2020 regarding this incident.
Correct.
And you said when you first saw it, there were no officers. Now we obviously have seen some officers walking into view. Were you still able to watch it when they did walk into view?
I was in and out of this video, so I do not remember them walking to the car.
All right. And what do you remember seeing the next time that you looked up?
I believe they were getting into the back of the squad car.
And do you remember then the next time that you were able to see it, generally what was depicted?
I believe they were still trying to get into the back of the squad car. It was moving a little bit, and then I went back to my screens.
And I think what I'd like to do is have this run, and if you could just watch the video and tell the jurors, when you were able to look up what parts that you remember seeing that day during your shift, okay?
Okay.
All right.
I believe this is close to where I started watching.
So obviously you can see some police officers here. Did you recognize them, individually?
No. And then I know I didn't watch that much, and then the next time I looked, they were opening the door. I do remember that.
Which door do you mean?
The driver's side back seat. This is what I remember seeing.
And so for the record, we see the officers now trying to put Mr. Floyd in the back seat, correct?
Correct.
The timestamp on the top, for the record, reflects about 8:17 and 10 seconds when you said that approximately.
Yes.
Now the officers have opened a rear passenger door. Do you remember seeing this part of the video?
Yes. I remember seeing the squad move.
And what do you mean by move?
So like now you can see the squad is moving back and forth.
It's not like being driven, but moving back and forth.
Right.
And for the record now, the timestamp at the top is 8:17:50 approximately.
And I know I wasn't able to watch all of this.
So at some point here, you had to turn away and do your job.
Yeah.
And do you remember what was the next thing you remember seeing?
The next time I remember looking up is they had moved from the back of the squad to the ground.
And so when you see that, let me know and we'll just make a reference to it at that time, okay?
Okay, I don't exactly know when they moved to the ground, I just know that when I looked up,
Right.
we were no longer in the back seat.
Because you've told us that you remember seeing them on the ground with him, I want you to point out the time in the video that looks familiar to what you remember seeing when you say that you saw them on the ground with him, just so that we know, okay?
Okay. I believe this is when I started watching again.
So for the record, the timestamp at the top reflects 8/19/20.